All right, I like this one. It looks like I could cook a whole pig on this one.
This is a fun one. This one's what's known as an offset. Also, people call them stick burners, classic sets or classic pits. They are not the first barbecue pits created. That's a fallacy. The first barbecue pits created were done by the Indians when they dug pits and put wet branches over the top. Those are the first actual barbecue pits. These popularized barbecue. Back in the South, the slaves, they would get the garbage cuts of meat, the quote-unquote garbage cuts of meat. Ribs, brisket, pork butts, the stuff that we love now were not always the high-end good cuts of meat. Well, they found out that if they cooked it slow and low, that they are going to get a pretty dang good cut or good meal out of it. So this is what they came up with. This is known as an offset. It's known as an offset because your cook chamber is lower. Excuse me. Your hot box is lower than your cook chamber. Throw in some lump charcoal, some wood on this side. This is where your heat source comes from. It has to move across the top in order to vent out the side or the other side. These, they take a little bit more work. You have to learn your dampers. They're large pits. You have to learn to move your dampers accordingly from your draw to your air intake to regulate your temperatures. They take about every 45 minutes, every hour or so, you have to add more fuel to it. So these are the type of smokers that you're going to be up all night cooking your pork butt. But you're not going to get a better product. You flat out, there's a reason why these are still the most popular in competitions right now.
So great product that you're going to be
working on this one. You're going to be babysitting it. You're going to be working with it.
And is this within that $1,000 to $2,000 range?
This is a $3,500 smoker. This is about 1,200 pounds. It's made of the same 1/8 thick. Excuse me. This is 1/4 thick 10 gauge steel throughout the whole thing. It's got a dual walled hot box, all hand done, hand welded. I'm not sure if we could get the camera in here, but you can see the hand welds and hand grinds all around it. This is a beast of a machine.
So Clint, I've noticed when I've looked at Home Depot, there's some options there for a stick burner, a side cooker like this. What's the difference? Why would I come for one like this instead of going to Home Depot?
There's a few differences. One, when you get those lower end smokers and offsets, they're just absolutely plagued with airflow issues. So you'll get a real hot spot on one side, you'll get it cold on the other side, you can't control your temperatures too much. You want one, if you're going to do an offset, you want one within that $1,000 plus range. You're going to have a better temperature control with it. It's going to be easier to get a good product off of that. If you start with one of those lower end ones, they'll warp. They're very thin, low end, low grade metal. Your hot boxes will warp on it. Your cook chambers will warp on it. You're not going to get a good airflow on that at all. Doesn't matter where you get it from. Just if you get a crappy built machine, you're going to get crappy product off of it.
Yeah. Cool.
This one, just to point out a couple of things that I like, a good offset is going to push the air up and down onto your meat. Doing it like this, or getting a heat management plate, so if the air is coming in real low, like most of them, a heat management plate will have smaller holes and then progressively larger holes so that you can manage how that airflow is. Instead of having a real hot spot right where the air comes in, and then the rest of it is relatively cold comparatively. When I say relatively cold, you're just talking about, say, 350 degrees versus 250 on the rest of it. That's a large swing. This one, you're going to have the air push up, back down. Your exhaust is right at grade level, giving you a very even temperature control across the whole thing. Heat management plates do the same thing.
Awesome. So one question before we go to the next grill. I know occasionally you do some competition cooking.
Yes.
What do you cook with? Do you use
that's
this? You talked about you'll never get better meat than you'll get off of this compared to a pellet.
We've used these in the past. I actually get that question a lot. It actually depends on who's sponsoring us at the time. If we're going in as a Utah barbecue company, it just depends on what we're looking at, what we want to use. We use what's called a gravity-fed smoker a lot. It's a big vault smoker. You fill up one side with lump charcoal. You push air in through the bottom. The heat comes out through the cook chamber in the top. We use that quite a bit. We use pellet smokers quite a bit. We use what's called a UDS or a drum smoker quite a bit. We're all over the board. We use them all, depending on what competition we're going to, depending on what flavors we're looking for, depending on what we're winning on at the time. I mean, this right here was 5th overall at the American Royal in 2017. We got a 19th place pork call and a 3rd place chicken, and all of that was done on a pellet smoker. At a competition, somebody once told us, good barbecue's good barbecue's good barbecue. Doesn't matter what you cook it on, doesn't matter how you cook it, good barbecue is just good barbecue no matter where you're at in the country. So with that question that you asked, it's kind of a loaded question. You can get a good product off of anything. So for us, it depends on what we're looking for and what temperature, not temperatures, what flavors we're looking for on our meats.